Texas is my pick to win a national championship this year. This is the best team in college football heading into this season. They have the most complete team in America. They have elite starters on offense and defense. All Americans played everywhere. And you also have elite depth. There's a reason why Texas has been to the last two Final Fours, because Steve Sarkisian has done a great job at recruiting at an elite level and also doing a great job of finding the right talent and the right pieces in the transfer portal. And normally you hear Texas is overhyped every season. They're always supposed to be back and it never happens. But how can you say that when Texas has, if we want to be literal about this, they kind of already have been back? When you make it to the semifinals 2 consecutive years in a row, that shows that you are among the elite programs in college football. Only a handful of teams have been to the Final Four consecutively, like what Texas has done under Sark these past 2 years. And not only that, but they lost last season to the national champions. If they would have beat Ohio State, they more than likely would have beaten Notre Dame and gone on to win their national championship. But this year is Texas' moment to finally officially stamp themselves as truly being back, because I believe with Arch Manning at the helm, he's the difference in Texas being able to go the distance this year. And some may argue that if he started last year during the playoffs for Texas, they would have went the distance. Quinn Ewers, as much as what he has done to helping revitalize this Texas Longhorns program, he held this team back in several aspects. He was scared to push the football downfield. He didn't have good awareness in the pocket. Arch Manning is a complete polar opposite of what Quinn Ewers was. He's aggressive. He's constantly looking to take shots downfield. He's better at going through his progressions. He's more comfortable under pressure. If anything, Arch Manning loves when teams send pressure at him. These are aspects of Arch Manning's game that makes Texas the best team in college football. We know that they're going to have a good offensive line in spite of them having to replace 4 starters, because nobody has recruited better on the offensive line than what Texas does. They have one of the best offensive line coaches in the nation. Defensively, they got an All-American linebacker. They got All-Americans in the secondary. This is Texas' year to finally stamp themselves and let the world know that we no longer are just off-season hype. We are for real. We are legitimately back. And it's been a while since we last had this hype around Texas. I didn't hear a lot of folks in the media picking Texas to win it all last year. Ohio State was perceived to be the preseason favorite to win it all. And you don't judge a team based off history. You see, Steve Sarkisian is having the same stuff said about him that folks were saying about Ryan Day when he was unable to get over the hump. Same thing with Kirby Smart. Just because Steve Sarkisian has came up the past 2 years doesn't mean he's incapable of being able to break through. Josh Pate says this a lot, and I always agree with him about this. Just because a guy hasn't done it doesn't mean he never will be able to do it. Steve Sarkisian is one of the best play callers and recruiters in this sport. He's just too good of a coach not for this to be his year. And I like Texas way more than I do Penn State, who also is another popular national championship pick with a coach that has yet to have his breakthrough moment, although he has came up a little bit close. But with what Texas has from a talent standpoint and at head coach, I like them more than what I like Penn State or anybody else. The only team that should scare Texas is Georgia. If you see Georgia in the playoffs, then you should start sweating if you're a Longhorns fan. For some reason, Kirby Smart just has Steve Sarkisian's number. I wouldn't have thought that Texas would have went 0-2 against Georgia when they have about the same amount of talent as what that team has. And even last year, I felt they were the better team going into the SEC championship with how Georgia was up and down all season long on offense. And they still lost that game because of how good Kirby Smart's defense was and Quinn Ewers not being able to handle the amount of pressure that Georgia was generating with all of the exotic blitz packages that they were sending at them. But this year, though, Arch Manning is going to play at a Heisman level. He's going to live up to the nepotism and that hype around the last name of his jersey. And along with Steve Sarkisian, Ryan Wingo, and all of the other great talent that they have in that squad, Texas finally gets their first national championship in a very long time. And nobody no longer can say, oh, they're overhyped. The hype is definitely justified for Texas. They have elite talent. They got elite depth. They got elite coaching. And 2025 is the year that it all comes together and they end up finishing through the line and they end up hoisting that CFP national title trophy at the end of the season.